Hey, welcome back to Behind the Internet. Today, we're going to be talking about remote learning and how to keep a routine while everybody's at home. And first of all, I'm Aaron. I'm the outside sales rep. And I'm on.
And yeah, I am Jesse, Whisper Internet, of course, and I've been here a long, long time. And I'm excited about this one today. I've been looking forward to it because I have kids, and everybody knows there's a lot of remote learning going on right there. And we have a special guest today that's going to give us a lot of really good information. I always sit here and write a whole bunch of notes down specifically on these. And with us today, her name is Mallory Allgire.
Hello, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Very good, Mallory. Well, I'll tell you what, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then we'll hit some questions up.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, my name is Mallory, and I'm a therapist on staff at Counseling Associates Ltd. We've got 3 locations now, Maryville, Shiloh, and just opened up in Troy. So I know Whisper's based out of Mascoutah, so we're kind of all around you there, which is kind of nice. But I myself, I've been with the practice about 1.5 years, almost 2 years in January, and I do mostly work with the kids, teens. I sprinkle in some adults here and there because, you know, you can only talk about unicorns and airplanes and such for so long. So I'm one of those people that's very lucky to say I do love my job so much. It's awesome to watch people grow. And so, yeah. Personally, I have a German Shepherd. I'm a big fur mama, as they say. And then big sports fan, which, this year you kind of have to take what you can get. So really loving this cooler weather. I'm a fall person, so I'm really trying to get outside and, just kind of enjoy the days as they come. So.
Yeah, you got it. And I think we are all looking forward to a fall, a change of season of some kind. And I did read your bio, and I'm glad you pointed out on it. I really appreciate those who treat their animals like their children. I'm out and about. I've got my own animals, dog, whatever. I'm out and about all the time at people's homes, and we've got treats in our vans and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that. And hitting on that sports thing too. I've got kids, and it's been hit and miss with the sports, but we've gotten my son in there recently as well, so to do some baseball and stuff like that. So
are they getting to practice and such then now?
Yeah, it just depends on where you're at in the country, city, state, or whatever, and that usually determines how strapped down the area is. But where I'm at, Washington, Missouri, for the most part, it's pretty light around here where people can get together, but there's some precautions for sure.
Absolutely, that's good. That's great.
Sounds like we could have another show just on German Shepherds, because I have 2 German Shepherds. So as soon as you hit that, I was like, oh, awesome. Okay.
So next week then. That sounds great.
Hey, that sounds awesome. Yeah, definitely. So, but anyway, back to the topic. We know it's going to be a crazy school year, no matter whether they're in school or out of school or a little bit of both.
Absolutely.
I know you're here to bring in some awesome tips for us, and I know there's a lot of parents that have a lot of questions, a lot of hair pulling situations, I'm sure. But and everybody out there, feel free to chime in on the comments about if you have kids and how they're starting this year. And do you have any tips right off the bat for them?
Sure. So I don't actually have kids myself, but sometimes I say I have 50 plus kids because all of them that are on my caseload. So I do get to hear the juicy details of kind of what's going on in their lives, probably more than you guys as parents, which is, a great time. But I do think the start of the year for, I think, a majority of people are doing the remote learning as they started the year. There have been some obvious, schools that maybe had started in person, but they're slowly transitioning back as we speak. At the start of the year, I had a kind of a blend, half and half of kids that really enjoyed it because they had the freedom. They were at home, they had the half days where they could be done at noon and then they got to play the rest of the day. They're in their PJs all day. Who doesn't love that? So that half, I heard some really awesome things, and they got to go at their own pace, which some of them really, really liked. Unfortunately, on the other end, I had a lot of kids who did not adjust very well because they're not in that school environment. And that is so detrimental to some of them, to not have that hands-on learning, to not have that teacher there physically speaking to them, setting those limitations. Not that parents can't, but there's just something about that teacher that can do it. And I think it's hard. I actually was just talking to a kiddo, and he was kind of expressing his frustrations with the technical difficulties, not being able to log on, having to get on this website and this website, submitting your homework here. Where at school you gave a paper to the teacher, and check, you're done. So I think it's been kinds of both, although I will say some are saying that they're getting used to it at this point. But then we might switch them back to the in-person right as they say that. But then again, we have that teachers are kind of putting the workload on a little heavier, so they're starting to feel it. So it's kind of an interesting blend of how the year has started, I would say. I don't know if you guys have noticed with your kiddos or anything.
No, absolutely. You're speaking to me. I've got kids in middle school, got kids in high school, and they're on the full days, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is all day online learning, like classes. And then Thursday and Friday is here's some assignments to do. So it's very interesting how that is. And it has been difficult. And you're right. I think they're getting used to it. But I think it can be tough on the parents too, which kind of leads right into the next thing. Tell me about the importance of a routine with this learning.
Absolutely. Well, you said it can be tough on the parents. 100%. They're having to take on that parental role, that teacher role, all while still, trying to be supportive to that kiddo. And lessons and the way they teach things are probably not the same as when you were their age, So I have heard parents are like, I'm spending hours on YouTube trying to reteach myself. And I'm just, that's heavy. So I have reminded a lot of the parents that I talk to of the kids I see that you're human too. You have to take care of yourself because you're going through this pandemic just like them. And they are little sponges. So they totally kind of feed off of you and recognize whenever you're off or not feeling so well or, grumpy or whatever it is that you're going through. So I think a routine is just, it's important, obviously, because it takes away a little bit of that unknown, which is kind of the nature of this whole ugly beast of the pandemic. There's so much unknown going on, and it's that just causes so much anxiety right there, right? So that structure kind of gives them a little bit of guidance, at least of what to expect for that day, or a routine, so to speak. But go ahead, were you gonna ask a question?
Yeah, well, yeah, sorry, and I apologize, but let's hit on routine specifically. Like, what would that look like, especially if you do have someone home, with the child, or maybe if someone can't be home with the child. Tell us a little bit about hone in on that routine, what it would look like.
Absolutely. I think everyone's is different. And the big thing that we have kind of talked about with my coworkers and such, is that you got to have a little bit of flexibility in there too, because things aren't going to go smoothly. And, the kids are at home in their environment, their comfortable environment. So it's easier for them to just not want to do the schoolwork. Hopefully before school, just like, with summer, you kind of have that transition of a sleep routine where even if you're having them go to bed 2 minutes earlier, and then you kind of gradually get it to 15 minutes earlier and waking them up earlier too, so that they are kind of transitioning to that school-like routine. Sure. I have seen, someone saying something, sorry.
Yeah, no, that was a good tip. I like that, the 2 minutes and the 15. That's
Yeah. So you got to kind of break it down a little bit more attainable. Some kids throw a fit if you're like 20 minutes earlier. Well, let's break it down to like 2, and then you can keep increasing that. So sleep is obviously really important. I've seen lots of teachers provide their kiddos with like an actual breakdown, chart of their school day. And I think that is helpful for those kids to have a visual and see that. And you made a good point there that there are some parents that aren't able to help their kids. And, you know, you can't be angry at those parents. You know, they've got so much on their plates. You know, I have so much empathy for the parents. And the shout out to the teachers too. My gosh, I saw some quote on the internet about they're having to build the plane and fly it at the same time.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. And I was like, that's so true. You know, they're having to navigate through these changes on the spot, it seems like. So I would assume I actually have a few teacher friends I talk to, and, you know, they're like, we have a little bit more compassion and grace than a lot of people are giving us, you know, because we're going through this too. So if kids are having difficulties, we're recognizing that and we're working with them. So I think the specific routine is based on the household, but I think if you can break it down as small as possible, you know, because then you've got kids that got learning challenges. You've got kids that have got, you know, they're easily distracted. You know, there's something going on outside. Their games are present. You've got to eliminate those kind of things too. So the routine is very, I would say, specific to each kid or parent and what works for them.
Yeah, because of this, I could imagine the issues are endless, and, you know, just
Sure.
go on, and just new things keep popping up all the time. And, you know, the more we go through it, the more efficient, the better we get at it. I couldn't help but when I saw this show coming up, I was imagining myself going to school. If this was happening, I mean, I probably would flunk out of every class if I wasn't actually there, because you know, distractions. I mean, constantly. You know, I would rather, to me, when I was going through school, you know, I had a hard time because my attention span. I would rather be doing this or doing that, or your gaming systems or whatever.
And that's because you're a human, you know, and that's okay. And I think that's the biggest challenge here is you got to have a lot of self-discipline, and some kids don't have that yet, and that's really challenging. And like I said before, they're at home. You want to feel safe and comfortable at home.
Yep, I can hear you. Absolutely. You there? I think she froze out. Let's wait for her to come back. We'll wait. Oh, there you are. Perfect.
Was it me that got lost there?
Yeah, just for a short bit. It's happened before, and you actually came back really quick. So,
okay, well, good deal. See, technology glitches.
I mean, we're going through just like what the students and the teachers are going through.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing it right here in our show. And,
absolutely.
I mean, even what Jesse was saying a minute ago too was like, I look at myself. Even when I was in college, I did so much better. I mean, like my schedule, I made sure I wanted to do classes on campus.
Sure.
The college classes to me were harder, and you were talking about discipline and making that self, and I had to find that, and even in myself, in order to get that. So I think, where you were heading there as far as the discipline goes is what.
Sure. And, you know, discipline too, I think sometimes is misconstrued as, you know, punishment or a consequence, but discipline is teaching a child a new way of handling something. So if we're disciplining them, that's not necessarily a negative thing. You know, and I think a big thing with the routine is we're going to help the teachers out too, right? I think that's going to help with their transition back to school with the behavior piece. My one friend teaches in Kentucky, actually, and I can tell kids that were on a routine and had structure at home versus the ones that didn't. Yeah. They are able to, you know, connect with me better. They're kind of expecting that. The other kids, I can tell, have been playing video games while they're on the screen, and which some do. So, we're also helping the teachers out by giving the children, you know, routine as well. And, you know, like you said, the parents, you know, they need routine too. If they're working from home, you know, they've got to have their kids set up, you know, how they need to be so that they can go get their work done or whatever it is that they need to do. So it's pretty beneficial and powerful, I would say.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm kind of seeing now is obviously, you know, parents are at home, they're trying to work, and it's like a difference in the kids. It's like the kids are so used to the parent being there,
Right.
and but then there's a time like you can't talk to your parent or vice versa because you're at work, they're at school. It almost makes a little bit like, hey, you can't talk to me during this time frame.
Right.
And obviously we know that probably causes a little bit of stress. And, I mean, during these hard times, I mean, is there a way that, so how can the parents alleviate some of that stress really on both between them, the student, and the parent? Yeah, I mean, do you have any tips on that?
Sure thing. Yeah, that's a great point. I hope parents know that they're allowed to be stressed. If they're not, I'm probably more concerned if they're not stressed, or if this is easy on them. I want to know their tricks if that's the case, because we're in a pandemic. This is crazy for everyone. So first of all, like I was kind of getting at earlier, parents need to have compassion for themselves. They need to treat their own feelings with kindness and take care of their own feelings too, because if they don't, I always use the analogy, if you're pouring from an empty cup, nothing's going to come out, and we're not serving anyone if we're not our best selves. So I think, first of all, I listened to this podcast, and Dr. Dan Siegel's kind of a guru in my field, and he speaks about connection before correction, which is so powerful because it helps you validate that kiddo's feelings. A lot of times they just want you to know, I'm frustrated, or I'm upset, or this is really hard. And for someone to sit down with them and meet them eye to eye exactly where they're at is so rich and powerful, for that kid to be heard, actually. So that connection before correction piece is beautiful because it validates their feelings and helps them feel heard. And then you can move forward to that correction and helping them find what they need. Another thing is those homework wars. Get the work done. Why aren't you doing this? What's going on? Just sit down and do it, And I think a lot of the issue there is that parents are so focused on the fix and the solution and making sure that they figure out what's going on. But I think the key is to why aren't they doing the homework? What need isn't being met right now? So almost kind of drop the solution and focus on the concerns that are at hand. And sometimes you might find that it's you, the parent, that has
yeah, a lot of the time. So yeah.
And it's okay too for parents to walk away and regather themselves and kind of sort through those feelings they're having, and then coming back and trying again. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that at all. So I think that is a huge piece. The other piece is to help the kiddos stay on track. You've got to take some brain breaks. Even at school, they're giving kids the option to every, hour, 45 minutes, let's go take our masks off. Let's rest our brains for a little bit. Just looking at that screen, I don't know about you guys, but my eyeballs hurt at the end of the day.
Right.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So my computer is a barrier alone, making sure that they get breaks in there and actual good breaks where they're walking from the screen.
Yeah, we had a viewer just mention that about a tactic as like, hey, let's get some times where you just take all the screens or take the phone away or something like that. Let's get away from it for a while. Let's go outside. Let's do something else. So that was Crystal who mentioned that in the comments. So thank you very much for that. That's one of the easy ones to do. Like, hey, just take some of those screens away and give your eyes and your brain a break for a bit. So
absolutely. Another big thing that I have recommended to a lot of my parents, if it's possible, some have circumstances where it's not, creating a specific space in the home for school. I do a lot of remote sessions. I'm actually in the office today, but at home I have a special corner of a room that is my workspace. It kind of helps my brain flip over and engage a little bit better whenever I'm in that space, because it might just be, it could be the placebo effect, but I've had kids set up a little area and put motivational quotes above them, just to kind of kick over to that school setting a little bit more. And also when they're done, that they can shut that computer and disconnect and walk away. They have to have that disconnect too, where they can just be themselves again at home and that they don't feel consumed by school. I think is really, really important. So that's a big recommendation I've had as well.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and that I wrote that down. Like, hey, create that space. That's perfect. I mean, I could totally do that at home. So, I jotted down a question a little bit ago, and this may or may not be up your alley, but I'm just curious about what you think. All the online stuff and all the remote learning. Say everything's back to normal again. Who knows if that'll ever happen? Do you think we'll continue to incorporate what we're doing now with regular school? Like, hey, everybody can come back, but how much of this do you think is going to keep on going?
Oh, that's a good question. And obviously it's so different everywhere. Even just in our local area, Fallon's not going back for a couple weeks, but I've got some Belleville kids that are headed back this week. So I think that's a really tough question because there is no concrete answers at this time, which I think is the core of all the frustration. It's usually we can kind of navigate to that concrete answer, and we can't quite do that. Which I also think is a lot of pressure for parents is that judgment from the opposing side of whatever you decide, right? So should I send my kid to school? Well, am I being unsafe? I'm not sending my kid because I want them to be at home and safe. That's not right or wrong. Sending your kid to school, that's not right or wrong. So I think if you can try your best as a parent to kind of pull that judgment back a little bit and know each family does what they can to keep their family safe, just treat everyone with kindness, the golden rule type thing. I think that could alleviate some pressure too, is you just got to make that decision on what's best for your family and try to know that other parents are going to do the same for their children. And I think that's the difficult dance to do. But I would imagine it seems as though parents are getting that option to keep their kids at home. I do encourage parents, of course, you have to keep the medical side of things at a top priority, and safety is usually number one above all else. So with respect to that, involve your kids in that discussion. They're pretty transparent about what they want and need. So having that conversation with them, they might give you more feedback than you actually thought. So I always say, have you asked your kiddo what they think? Or have you asked your kiddo what they want to do? And a lot of them no. Yeah. Which is okay. We don't necessarily think about that.
Right. Yeah. We've talked about it a few times with them, especially when it first started going back to school. I know they both weren't enjoying the whole mask thing. It was really strange where everybody's wearing masks, and and for me, I related because there's certain situations where I'm wearing a mask and I'm talking to people that I know, especially work related, and it almost can't express myself the way I normally do with them because I might say something that might be joking, but you can only see my eyes, and I have to be like, so I know the mask thing was hard for them to get used to.
Right. It's like taking a picture and I find myself still smiling even in the picture with the mask on. And I'm like, I don't know why I did, but maybe you can see it in my eyes. So
right.
It's amazing how many people you don't recognize either when they have the mask on.
No.
I mean, that's comical. You must be okay.
Right. That's true too. I've done that a couple times as well.
I can only imagine poor teachers, having kids with the same color T-shirt. And I could see that being fun for them.
Oh, yes. The mask component I've really tried to flip into with the little guys, at least. There's only a limit that you can get to an age where they believe everything. But we've worked with them being superheroes with their masks. Which is kind of a neat way to approach it. You're saving lots of people and you're being a superhero. But, I think another tip maybe is to practice breathing with your kid in the mask. So have them wear it at home, and do some calming breathing things. And I like to say stress breathing is into our chest, and deep breaths is when we get it into our bellies. So maybe you can practice that with the little guys by putting stuffed animals on their bellies or something and having them watch it go up and down. Maybe practice that with their masks so that they feel a little more prepared and it's not so shocking whenever they go back to school. Although masks aren't very shocking anymore. It's kind of what we're used to at this point. So.
Yeah, and I really hope that we don't have to get used to that in the long term. And I don't think we are, honestly. I think this is going to go away. So.
If everyone does their part, hopefully we'll get there sooner than later.
You got it. I don't know if you have anything else, Aaron, but Mallory, you've been great. This week probably could have gone another half hour with all these follow-up questions, and then I love these open discussions. They're a lot of fun. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us because it's so important right now with the remote learning and the kids and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and ask Aaron, did you have anything else to follow-up question before we wrap this up?
No, this was really good. And even for, a lot of tips that you even threw out there is great for people working at home.
Sure.
So I think that was really great too, because luckily I started working from home before all this, but it was still even an adjustment, being forced to work at home.
Oh, yes.
Before all this. So it was a little different for me then. And so I imagine. So, even a lot of the things you threw out today, but any last tips you have, Mallory, that you'd like to kind of throw out there, and even in the chat, anybody watching, throw some out there in our chat and from our audience as well.
Sure.
Right. It looks like real quick, someone, how do you do play dates?
Ooh, I think that's parental discretion there. Again, you have to go with what you feel is best for your family and is safest for your family. We have done work gatherings that I'll kind of speak on maybe that, outside obviously is probably the safest option there. And, sometimes just, wearing your mask too, if you're concerned about that, and doing activities that you could have space with. So if I have kids come to my office, we sit obviously more than 6 feet apart and we play games that are options for that at this time. But again, I think that's a personal call on the parent's discretion, which again, no right, no wrong answer there.
Yeah.
No, that's very good.
Monopoly fun, I'm sure.
Those board games, right?
And Mallory, I think I just want to make sure, did you have any last minute tips there? I think we kind of rolled on you.
Covered most of it. I'm sure I'll think of hundreds after we hang up, but thank you so much. You guys are a really fun conversation to have, and I really have enjoyed kind of chopping up my schedule and doing something different today. It's been a pleasure, and I'm really thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and before we let you go, if you want to plug yourself, do you have any where can people find you? Do you do social media, websites, anything like that?
Absolutely. So first of all, I know a lot of people don't actually know how to find a counselor or therapist. So Psychology Today is a wonderful website for that. So that's a blurb, not for me, not an ad, not anything like that, but just, a very valid piece of information to have. But Counselors Associates, as I said, we have 3 locations and we are doing remote, which is kind of really great for a lot of people who are in those more rural areas. I've got people from an hour and a half away, this is great because they don't have to drive once a week to come see me. I can be in their homes with them. So you can find us online, Counselors Associates. Google it. I believe we pop up really high up. Our number is on my desk over there. I can grab it, or I can send it to someone too. But there's so many great therapists on our staff that work with a wide variety. The youngest we see is 4, so we're down there in the age limit, and we go up to the elderly age as well. And the new thing that we're offering, which is pretty neat, is a texting option, which is really kind of cool if people have that, kind of anxious barrier of talking to us or being seen on camera or coming into the office. We're kind of piloting it right now, but it's really kind of a neat option to have that people could access. So they can get more information on that too through our front office. So. Did that
Very
answer?
good. Yo, that answered perfectly. And there you have it. We'll get Mallory's number posted so they know where to find you guys. I think that's it. I mean, like you said, that's great. We could have gone on for another half hour, but we got to wrap it up at some point. Thank you so much, Mallory. We appreciate you joining us.
I minute of it.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody who's watching, who watched live. Thank you, everybody who's going to watch this after the fact. You can ask questions anytime about anything. We'll get those answers to you. And we really appreciate it. We do this once a month. Looks like the next one's going to be October 1st. And let me get my glasses on. Mental health. Mental health, self-care, and the COVID-19. So definitely join us back for that one. All right. Well, there you go. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And we will talk to you next time around.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.